Hello, this is Yehna.
And this is Jessie.
We are excited to be back with another episode. We wrestled through many different questions and we wanted to invite you and elaborate more on the question. So, what does God want me to do? So, welcome and join us
At
at
the
the table.
table. We did it this time. Good job.
Yes.
So, like Yana said, hey guys, we are going to talk about kind of a sequel to our last episode with the whole is there more to just a 9 to 5? We're taking a different take on this of kind of expanding on it and talking about okay, we have amazing things in our lives besides our 9 to 5. We didn't want to leave it with, oh, we don't know what we're doing with our lives and we hate our job and we hate our lives. We're like, okay, let's add more to that. So we're going to talk more about, okay, it's not what we do, it's how we do it. What is it like to find balance in our lives as we're still trying to figure out what God wants us to do and what we feel led to do? Let's get started with this. Like we said, beyond a 9 to 5, especially in this season, God has blessed us with new doors, and I'm sure He has with you guys too.
Right.
There's been cool opportunities that Yana has been involved in, and just new ideas that Yana has for her life and mine as well. But how do we find the balance of choosing what to invest in or lean
Mm,
into during this season? Because I feel like the past 2 years have been healing from just kind of weeding out some of the bad or the quote unquote negative or toxic things in our lives. And now that we have done that, there's so much good opportunities, but it's like, okay, we can't do it all. And it all sounds amazing. So, what is God calling us to lean into? Which one should we
right.
press into more? But what does that look like for you, Yana, in your life? Like, what are some things that you are juggling at the same time on
Mm.
top of your 9 to 5?
No, it's not that I'm over here trying to figure out every way to get out of my job. That is not what we're doing here today. Outside of this 9 to 5, just figuring out and exploring different skill sets, different opportunities and ways to be plugged in, whether it's with a church or maybe even, I mean, not maybe. I'm always talking about this, and it's like, when are you going to ever start? But, talking about getting into my master's program and just thinking, oh, do I even explore this realm of business world and just all of that. So with all of that in mind, I think sometimes I get really caught up with the thing I have to be involved in, the project and the program or the thing I need to do, and getting stuck in this loop of perfection and finding out the specific vision that God wants me to do. But as I'm wrestling through this, as I'm wrestled through the fatigue of my job, and sometimes that clouding my judgment and my rationality, as I learn to figure that out, I'm really coming down to, okay, these opportunities are here. Instead of seeing this as an overwhelming, let's make a decision now, it's almost like God saying, hey, you are able to do all of this and kind of do what you will. It's
Mm,
like this creative space to just learn, be in a posture to learn. And it's not about, Yena, I need you to do this perfectly, get it right or get it wrong. It's like, no, actually, you just kind of dip your feet in all of these things and see what I have in store for you. And I always kind of come back to this in mind because my mom has used this verse really to help me focus my attention to what is important, and
mm,
it's from Psalm 119. I don't exactly know the verse, but it's the very famous verse that we all probably know is, your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. My mom always draws the attention to how God uses the lamp, not a whole light bulb, to shine
mm,
on the answer, but just to let us take the next step forward and trusting that God is guiding us towards the direction He wants me to. And right now,
mm.
God gave me the privilege to see a little further, in a sense that He's given me so many open doors. And so, why not check out each room? I don't have a right answer, but I think that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm learning to find peace in that.
Mm.
Learning, not there yet, but yes.
Learning's the key part. No, but I feel you because I think a lot of conversations that I've been having with other people are
Mm,
like, oh, I'm doing youth group right now, and I just started a new class that's really cool
mm-hmm.
and I'm interested in. And then I'm also like training for something, and I'm also doing therapy. All of these things are amazing, but I can't do it all. Like
Yeah,
I'm trying to do all these good things, but I don't even know which one to invest more in because I'm just
right.
doing all of these good things that I want to do right now. It's that process of learning to just be and to listen and
Mm,
to know A, that it's okay that you're cutting out a good thing in your life or maybe putting that on hold. And
right.
it's okay to press into one thing and let yourself be present in the spaces that you are. Because that's what's been tricky on top of doing a full-time job, right? All of that kind of gets very imbalanced when you're trying to do all good things. And the thing that we also want to point out is that doing a lot isn't the bad thing. It's more the root of it, right? Like what's
Right.
driving us at the core? What's
Mm-hmm.
making you want to commit to all these things? Because
Yes.
especially, I mean, because I personally am a type A, so I like to do everything and anything that I can. But what's really driving me? It's good that I want to do all these things, but why am I doing it? We've been through college and adulting together, but I've seen you in seasons where maybe you were committing a lot to things. And what was the core for you of what drove you to those things?
Yes. I was just kind of reflecting on this and wow, just looking back at college, Yena Kim, I can't believe I did so much. And I'm not here to be like, oh my God, I'm this amazing person that tried everything and anything. But it coming back down to why I did all of this was basically I needed to prove myself. So I spread myself so thin. I try to be in this leadership. I try to be in a choir, and then I try to make new not make new friends but like try to be the best person for everyone all the time. And then I try to, on top of that, I was a full-time student on top of all this, and then I try to work. And so I'm just thinking, like, what the heck was I doing in that season? And reflecting back on it, it really came down to I needed to show people that I could be successful, that I was
Mm,
worth someone's time. Essentially I can love people well, or and it was so self-centered. It was just me, 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 me. I covered it up by this fake humble, as in I thought I could serve everywhere and anywhere. And so that's why at the end of 4 years, yes, this might not be the only reason, but it was a big factor of why I was so burnt out at the end of
mhm,
my 4 years, because my self-worth and my goal and my root was rooted in everything but God.
mm, mhm.
And I think what sets my experience right now apart is now I finally came back to what matters and what
Right.
needs to matter, which is Jesus. And not just that, but to spread the love of God to everyone. And so I think that's why when I commit to different things, I don't have fear in my heart, as in, like, oh my God, am I doing too much? Blah, blah, blah. It's more like, oh, okay. I wonder, it's like more of a question of like, I wonder what God is doing now. Don't get me wrong, I
Mm.
get frustrated too. I'm like, bruh, it doesn't make sense. But it's not, I don't really question my self-worth anymore, which is
Mm,
the shift from inward focus. It's okay, God, what's up?
mhm.
Yes, that conversation can be different tones and different days, but it comes back down to that. So I think that's
Mhm.
what it's been different. I'm still learning. That's kind of the current reflection.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you saying is that like you are finally rooted in God, and
Mm-hmm.
that has just shifted how you live your life
Mm-hmm.
and how you go about committing to different things or to signing up for different things.
Yeah.
Whereas it seemed like the pattern before was maybe just numbing and not thinking about the why, but just constantly doing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I wonder what you guys think too when you are like, oh my gosh, I'm burnt out, or like, oh my gosh, doing too much. I wonder if it's important to do like a heart check in of, all right, I'm burnt out. I'm exhausted. Everything that usually gives me joy isn't giving me joy. Where is
Mm,
my heart right now with God? Because I definitely felt that this week of like, oof, I am doing all these amazing things, reconnecting with friends, busy, 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 going back and forth from connecting and talking about God. And all, it's good things. We're talking about God. We're doing, good fellowship, but I wasn't connecting with God, and my root had somehow just shifted, and I had to recenter it this Sunday.
mm,
And even if you know who you are, like even if you know your identity and you know you're rooted in God, if you aren't constantly spending quality time checking in with yourself with him, it will shift so easily on a
so
daily
true.
basis. So I
That
just
is
felt
so
that
good.
extra this week.
I love that.
Yeah.
My today my life group didn't just talk about this, but essentially talked about that is that literally in every moment you need to almost like have a timer for yourself. Where are you right now?
Yeah,
Mind, body, soul.
for
What are you
sure.
what are you working so hard for right now? And just thinking, okay, am I doing this out of spite? Am I doing because I'm driven by emotions? Am I doing this because I need to prove something? Am I doing this out of anger? Or are you really doing this because you love this, or in a sense, not this for passion's sake, but more like, did God intend this for you right now? And
Mm,
so, and it sounds so holy and like crazy and like, oh my God, too extravagant, but it's more just, okay, let's like quiet my mind a little bit. 10-second check in. Yehna, where are you? So
yeah.
that's such a good reminder.
It is because even for me, like, thanks for sharing that whole proving yourself because that takes a lot of taking down your pride to share, So I appreciate you sharing that. And for me too, on a day or on a season where I'm distracted, my core, especially being an Enneagram 2, is always somehow what drives me is I want to be wanted, to be accepted, or to feel like I matter
Mm,
and that I'm doing something with my life and that, I'm leaving a mark somewhere and helping people. And so that will be what is driving me. And that gets very it's very distracting. And it also is hard to pick out right away.
mm,
That like lukewarm, ooh, I think I'm serving God, but it's this, ooh, but I'm slowly drifting away.
yeah.
I guess the question that we have for you is what is driving you at the core? How do you balance all the good while staying still rooted in God? Are you representing love? And what does it mean to love well and to show up well in this season? I feel like that's something we always ask in every episode.
I'm just thinking that right now. But it really is. It really is comes down to that. And the reason why, I mean, Jessie was about to share this, sorry.
No,
But
you're
it
good.
really comes down to the commandment that Jesus gave before he went up to heaven, which was to love Christ with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and but also to love one another as yourself. And so it's just, I think that's why it's on our hearts, in our minds, not constantly. It should be constantly. That's what we need to check with ourselves. Is it We just pray that it's constantly in our heart and in our minds, because it really comes down to this. When someone encounters us in that moment, are we representing Jesus's love?
Hmm.
That's why we, because we've experienced it, we know how important it is. We want to tell everybody about it.
100%. And that's so cool you just said that because today in my church in the sermon, I'm going to read it. He said, identity is to know Jesus is my life, and character is to show Jesus through my life. And
Mm,
how is your identity and your character aligned? And it's the same thing. So often we get caught up in what's next for us or what is God calling us to do. But it's no, the answers are right in front of us. How are we aligning our identity and our character? And how are we living out day to day God's love?
mm,
It's crazy. It's so simple. Yet we
yes.
make it so complicated. And especially when thinking about, even Yena, your career and me with like, okay, how long am I going to do sped? Like, we don't
How
have to rush
long?
it. We're like, how many more years, how many more months can we handle
Yeah.
this? But at the end of the day, we don't have to rush it because we already know how we're supposed to show up.
Yes.
Even though the question was, how should we show up? We kind of
LOL.
know how we should show up.
Yeah. And I think the reason why we wrestled so much with it is as humans, we want to complicate it. It's just we want to feel it tangibly, and we want to
Right.
get the answers now. And this reminds me, I think it was a podcast or it was a sermon. I don't know. I listened to both of them too much, but they were asking somebody, a theologian, what do you think is getting in the way of us drawing closer to Christ? And this person, I'm probably butchering the question, but basically what it came down to, he said, it is the spirit of hurry
Yeah,
that
restlessness.
blocks us from essentially being in the presence of God. And so right now, the theme song I need to sing over my life is the song Not in a Hurry by United Pursuit.
I
I'm
love
gonna
that
read
song.
I'm gonna read some of the verses. Are these the verses? Yeah. We
No, no, I didn't write it down, but
Oh,
I remember it. It's,
okay.
I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just to rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking.
Chills.
So good. It's so good.
So good. I
So
remember
good.
I always knew this song, but recently, as in a couple months ago, I re-listened to it and I'm not joking. I was done. It just was so convicting because that's exactly what I was doing. I'm like, God, I need to know now. You need to show up now. Dude, figure this out now. I need to know the answers now. God was like, whoa, do you even want to spend time with me, buddy? Unfortunately, the answer was no in that moment because I'm like, I need to know. God's like, I cannot show up if you're not gonna listen. And it just was I'm still very much learning to slow down because
Yeah, we're learning to
yeah.
listen.
Mm-hmm.
We just talked about being a good listener. Are we a good listener with God?
Nor
Uh,
convicts
yeah.
ourselves every time we speak. I think we just need to like shut up. Maybe we don't want to listen to ourselves anymore. Nobody wants to. Oh
Humbled
man,
each time. But
so
yeah,
true.
we challenge you guys to sit in these questions with us. What is driving you to the core when all these good things and life gets in the way and you are trying to balance it all? What's driving you?
Right.
And how are we living out the Great Commission? Because again, it's not about what we're doing, it's how we're doing it, how we're showing up. And we just pray that God would give us that clarity to know mm, that we're not rushing, that we need to be still and listen and to just rest in his nearness
Yes.
because he's speaking all the time and those distractions can get in the way of listening and hearing what he is already saying. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just feeling very encouraged. So
Yeah.
anything else to add, Yenna?
Yeah. When you ever feel those questions arising of what do I need to do now, God? Like, what is it, God? I think that should be this alarm that you haven't spent time with God. Yeah. Because basically, what I'm feeling is anxiety and fear of the unknown.
Mm,
But God's like, I know all things, and you will know them as you spend time with me.
mm.
And so
Amen.
don't don't rush God because it only results in a lot of fear and anxiety and doubt and bitterness. And so how do I know? I was just there this week. What the heck? So I whoever's feeling that right now, same.
We
And
feel you.
yeah, I encourage you to sit in his presence. And what that can look like really is just praying and saying, not asking anything, but saying, Lord, I'm here and I'm listening. And almost say it like a mantra because don't get me wrong, I did that past Wednesday. Did I hear anything? No. But I think it's a practice. And that's why I didn't hear anything, because it goes against everything my body wants to do and everything
Right.
my human nature wants to do. So yeah. Anyway, to wrap this up, thank you for listening. And I really pray that this week will be one where you practice sitting still
Mm.
and knowing God has you covered and God sees you in your frustration, in your valley, the trenches, and all of those things. And so, yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, we are on Spotify and we are on YouTube, and we put all our updates on Instagram. So follow us there. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. And we cannot wait to share more, whether it's about this and other things, in our next episode. So until then, bye.
Bye.